terms of when you went from being an assistant, Nasir Saab was clear he wanted to launch you as an actor.
No, he wasn't clear actually.
He wasn't. Tell us.
See, what happened is that for me, when I wanted to be an actor, I was very conscious about one thing, that I never wanted Nasir Saab or Chachajan or Abbajan to ever feel, okay, now it is our responsibility to launch Aamir. I didn't want them to ever feel that. I didn't want to be a, burden on them. So I knew by that time I wanted to act, and I was doing my own thing. I used to go to FTI, I used to do diploma films over there, I was doing theatre. I did a film called Holi, which Ketan had directed at the Film Institute. So I was doing my own thing, but I never ever, even by mistake, I used to not mention to Chachajan or to Abbajan about me wanting to act, and because I didn't want to even come close to that. So two things happened, and coincidentally, both these things happened with a very famous couple of today. What happened is I did a short film called Paranoia, which Aditya Bhattacharya had made. This is much before I'm talking of when I had passed out of school, 10th, and just before the first year college began, in the holidays, I shot for this film called Paranoia, which was a 40-minute short film, entirely silent, meaning no dialogue, no music, nothing, not even a pen ka sound. ऐसे करके चलती पूरी film. So he had made that film, and he made it as an experiment to learn about cinema, and he wanted to learn filmmaking. And so he asked me. I was in school with him. I was his classmate. So he said, "Okay, will you act in it?" And I said, "Okay." He said, "I need your help. I need another boy, something like you. Can I?" So I said, "Okay." So I was the actor on the film. I was also the production manager and the assistant director and the spot boy and everything. So basically, I was helping Aditya. And the experience of doing that film actually got me interested in filmmaking. Until then, I wasn't. But I'm saying something else now. So the film got complete, and he wanted to show it. So he called Shabana ji to Dimple Theatre. And Shabana ji was the only person sitting in the theatre and watching the film. It was a silent film, and it was pretty, difficult to fathom what Aditya was trying to say. Usually it's difficult to fathom what he's trying to say. So khair, film khatam hui, and Shabana ji is a very outspoken person. So Aditya's mother, Rinki auntie, was next to her, and Aditya was sitting behind them, and I was sitting right at the back with my sister Nikhat, who's there. Now mind you, nobody in my house knows I've gone to shoot for this film, because my dad will just kill me if he comes to know, okay, Aamir shooting karne ja raha hai. I didn't even tell Ammi. So I used to pretend I'm going for a hockey match early morning. Ammi hamari hockey match hai. मैं hockey stick लेके जाता था, actually shooting पे जाता था. तो खैर, Shabana ji was watching the film, and she saw the film. She got up and said, "I didn't understand the film, but who's that boy?" So Rinki auntie said, "वो पीछे बैठा है, ताहिर का बेटा." So she said, "Where?" And she turned around, and I got up. I said, "Hello, ma'am." So Rinki auntie said, "This is Tahir Saab's son." Now Shabana ji was working with my father at that time in a film called Khoon Ki Pukar. The shooting was going on. She said, "Hey, you're Tahir Saab's son. I must tell him you're a fantastic actor." I said, "No, you can't tell him that. You can't tell him that. He'll kill me." So she said, "Why?" I said, "No, you can't tell him that." So she said, "But you're a fantastic actor. You should be acting." So I was so thrilled, because I really look up to Shabana ji as an actress, and when she said that, I was like, wow, I felt so good that someone who I respect so much as an actor is telling me that she's like, "You're really amazing, and you have no idea how well you've done, and you really should act." I was like, okay. And then I joined Chachajan as a AD, and I remember it was towards the end of the shooting of Zabardast, and we were in Faryaz Hotel, we were shooting there in Khandala, Lonavala. And Javed Saab had come to work on Mr. India script, and he was also working on the script of Arjun. So Shekhar was there, Javed Saab was there, Rahul Ravel was there, and I was sitting in Nasir Saab's room doing some paperwork, and Javed Saab walked in to say hi to Nasir Saab. So they were meeting after a long time. They were exchanging whatever, and they were talking and catching up after a long time. And then finally, after about half an hour, Javed Saab asked Chachajan, "Wo kaun beta hai? Who's that boy over there?" I was sitting near the window. So he said, "Ye Tahir ka beta hai." So he says, "Ye kya kar raha hai aapke saath?" He said, "Wo mera assistant hai." So Javed Saab said, "Ye aapka assistant kyun hai? Isko to aapka star hona chahiye." मेरे कान खड़े थे, सब सुन रहा था मैं दूर से कि क्या बातें हो रही हैं. And it's quite ironical that both Shabana and Javed Saab, who are together today, individually noticed me at separate places and said the same thing. Even after that, I never had the courage to tell my uncle or my father कि यार अब Javed Saab कह रहे हैं I'm star material. So I just completely ignored it. I didn't even want to bring it up. I was so frightened that he would feel कि अरे यार. I didn't ever want Cheshire to feel कि Aamir expects me to make a film for him. Now I'll have to. I didn't want that. मेरे को वो नहीं चाहिए. So one day, I was with Jajan and I used to be with him all the time. So we met someone he was meeting after many years. And he said, hello, how are you, this, that, they were catching up. And then he said, Aamir, meet so-and-so, he's an old friend of mine. And he said, so-and-so, meet, this is my nephew Aamir and he's the star of my next film. And I was like, whoa, that's how I came to know that I'm going to be acting in his next film. And then a few days later, he called me and said, okay, listen, I think I want to make a film with you. It's going to be a love story and all of that. So, yeah.
And no specific advice about acting?
No. So I'm saying, all along, I always thought Jajan does not want me to be an actor. And it's actually he and Mansoor saw Holi at some point, if you remember. And I think at some point, after that, they felt maybe.
And Nusrat, what do you think your father would have felt, both of you, about a book being written about him?
That's a very interesting question. Yeah. Because, my dad was very used to not getting awards. He never got any Filmfare award.
Awards basically mean nothing. That's what we can say. It doesn't have anything to do with enduring classics, and it's time that...
I didn't say that.
Would he be surprised about this book?
I think he would be shy.
He'd be shy about
I
it.
think he would be shy. He'd be like, nahi, kya book, kitab kya hai, chodo. People will watch my film if they want to. He would be, I think he would be shy.
You think you would read it?
I don't think so.
No chance he would never read it.
How interesting. And I've just one last question before I ask. I would like to ask one question to Imran, who is here. But before that, I want to know, did you all speak in Urdu at home, or how did you converse?
Both, Urdu and English both.
It depended on what the subject was.
How was his English?
It really depended.
No, his English was good. His English was good, his Urdu was better, of course. But he was most comfortable in English.
And Mansoor, you are defining the subject. Can you give us some more information?
I want to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to tell you, but there were certain very colloquial things which you can only say in,
Urdu.
Yeah, so we were just used to that.
I have to tell you a funny little thing. It was what Nusrat told me. I had gone to interview Mansoor about his work with Madru Saab one day, and I said to Nusrat, he's such an honest man. Mansoor will not be able to tell a lie. And then Nusrat said, why do you think we don't give him any secrets?
Yeah.
So
We try and keep all our secrets hidden from Mansoor.
I would like to first, where is Imran? Is he here? Where is he? Imran, can he get a microphone, please? And it'll be very kind if you could stand up so everyone can see you. Imran, you grew up, obviously you are his grandson. What do you remember? Because there's always a wonderful relationship with the grandfather. And was he curious about your youth? Because he was so youthful in himself.
Strangely, I never really saw my grandfather as a filmmaker. To me, he was Nana. He loved telling stories. This is actually my most enduring memory of him. That every evening, and every single evening from the time I was maybe 3 years old, I remember he would tell me a new story, and he would make it up as he went along. Generally, I was the star of the stories. So Imran would go here and do this and then that, and everything. He would weave in bits of adventure stories, science fiction, just all sorts of stuff. And that continued. He passed away when I was 19. And I remember even up till that point, generally in the evenings I would try and spend a little bit of time with him, go and sit down. And it was always about chatting, it was always, that was our relationship. To me, I never saw him as a filmmaker until much, much later when I started watching his films. He He was just.
And did he want you to be an actor?
Nobody in the family wanted me to work in films.
Family tradition.
I think that's how we've always
That's
done it.
family tradition.
Every generation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's give him. Now we've got about 20-25 minutes, and we're going to take some questions. Now, first of all, I'd like to say something. Can we absolutely shock the panelist and stick with the subject? Nasir Saab or the book? And I promise you, next time we talk about global warming. So now, who has the first question? You have a mic for her? Just now.
Besides the immediate family members, who are the others from the industry you met to do your research?
Well, there's Asha ji, I met her a couple of times. I met Jitendra ji, I met Zeenat Aman, I met Rishi Uncle, I met Rishi ji, I met. And not just people who were, I met Tariq Bhai. I met, so there were a lot of people within the world of Hindi cinema, people who had acted with him, worked with him. But also, you know, this book came out of meeting with people who blog on Hindi cinema, of the 50s and 60s, people who've written on Hindi cinema, people like Jerry Pinto, Aniruddha Bhattacharjee, Jay Arjun Singh. I went to the National Film Archives of India. There was a lot of good material over there on Nasir Saab, and you know, there's this particularly honest article that he writes just before Baharo Ke Sapne releases. Now, Baharo Ke Sapne is this film that Nasir Saab had basically written in his college days in Lucknow, for which he'd won a gold medal also, as you all know. And in this article, he writes very poignantly, I think, that, you know, I'm at the turning point, crossroads in my career, where if this film works, and this was an offbeat film that he was making, it was black and white, it was being made almost simultaneously as Tisri Manzil. The film is 1967, and it talks about, it's dedicated to, the film begins with a dedication to Mahatma Gandhi. And it talks about a non-violent approach for workers' rights against militant trade unionism. So, you know, this impression that we have of filmmakers that, you know, ये तो सिर्फ commercial filmmaking करता है and therefore इसकी कोई politics नहीं होगी या ये politics के बारे में क्या बात करेगा. I think that is a great example of a filmmaker who makes films otherwise for the commercial mainstream, but also is very politically aware. And it really is a beautiful film. Jal Mistri won the Best Cinematography Award for that film. It's beautifully shot.